Hi, everyone, from me, Brent Graham of goodforthegame.co.za, and welcome to the final handicap rugby betting show for the World Cup. Of course, we're going to be talking World Cup finals, both the bronze medal match and the final, and we'll also be throwing in some URC action. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the guest. He hasn't been on a show for a while, and one of the reasons was the bugger was running around in France. It's Alan Schultz at Jackal for Life on Twitter. Alan, great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, great to be back. Thanks, Brent. I got the late call up last night, so the cupboard was obviously bare. But yeah, looking forward to an action-packed weekend in the World Cup and the URC.
Well, I can tell you that wasn't the case, and Steve can vouch for it as well. The call-ups just came out very late in this particular case because I don't know what it was. I was toying between doing the show back on a Thursday night and a Friday, and before I knew it, the whole week had gone, and I hadn't actually organized the show yet. And so last night I was scrambling around. And the thing is with Steve, I'm never sure, like you could answer me straight away and say I'm available. With Steve, I kind of got to send him the message and wait for him to wake up to read it and say he's available. But he's proved hell of a reliable over this World Cup. So Steve, let me bring you in there, mate. First of all, congrats on New Zealand's appearance in the final. Their convincing win over Argentina. And I imagine there's plenty of hype going around about this big final.
Yeah, no, the country's feeling pretty excited about itself at the moment. I think all the hurdles that the country's jumped over, it's, the pessimistic attitude from a few months ago has certainly been washed away. So, yeah, country's really looking forward to it. It's great to be back on the show, so I'm excited to get into it.
Right, and just a reminder, and I'll bring the banner up here. We've already got a few guys who've entered who know the drill very well. A 500 Rand bet exchange voucher if you use hashtag RWC. It doesn't matter if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, on the bet exchange accounts, or if you're on the Good for the Game YouTube. Hashtag RWC in the comments. And this applies, Alan, to yourself as well. Although I am going to organize you a voucher for being a guest on the show. Unfortunately, I can't do that for Steve in New Zealand. We'll have to go to Tab New Zealand for that. But guys, yes, use the hashtag RWC and you'll be entered into that draw towards the end of the show for the voucher. Right, let's move on. I just want to see one of the guys here sending me a message. And Al, you must do it in the actual comments of the thing, not in the private chat. And my wife serves me a nice cup of tea here. Thanks, Trish. It's almost beer time here in South Africa. I suppose you'd argue it is at 12 o'clock. But anyway, we'll get into the action now. I want to start off with the third place playoff game, guys. And Steve, I'll start with you. This is, of course, as they always say, the game no one wants to play in and all the rest. But Steve, we've got two teams with very contrasting routes, if you want to look at the semi-finals. You got an Argentina side that knew 5 minutes after half-time they weren't playing in the final. And you got an England side that only realized in the 81st minute that they weren't going to be playing in the final. What do you make of this game? We've got a handicap here of plus 7.5 Argentina, so England are favourites, and a points line of 47.5.
Yeah, well, this is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because, like you say, two contrasting, mental states of the two sides going into the sort of game. But I think this is a game that Argentina is going to go into. And I think regardless of how those semi-finals went, Argentina are always going to go into this a bit more optimistic and a bit more passionate or a bit more trying to achieve that third place over fourth place. Because for Argentina, this is a pretty big deal to get third for them as a massive accomplishment. So I think they're going to want it a bit more. Their desire is going to be there a little bit more for them. Whereas the English, it's hard to say that any team goes out there not really caring about a result, but after the heartbreak, the fact that they've considered themselves a possibility to be a finalist, I just question a little bit if the desire will be the same as it will be for the Argentinians. And we've got a few changes. The big thing I worry about this game, though, is I don't want it to be a repeat of that opening Pool D game, because we've already seen these two sides clash. Remember, it was a bit of at the time, it was like, oh, wow, what has England done here? But now it's kind of like, Shell's saying a little bit different. You've got nothing to lose here. You just out this third and fourth. Let's play a little bit of rugby and hope that Argentina can do the same as well. But I do fear, given the conditions we're kind of expecting this weekend as well, this could be a game that England just try and, play the England style. And we might see, Henry Arundel just sitting out in the wing, getting his second run of the tournament, which would be really cool for him. But I struggle to see he's going to probably get too much game. I'm completely unders on everything here as far as points of scoring and total tries. I don't think there's going to be many tries in it. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of points in it either. I just hope that Argentina actually get out there and put in a good effort and try and go for something decent from it. What I really like from this game, betting-wise, is Boffelli and Farrell. TAB's got them here for 25 points combined. I think that's just jam straight away. That's easy money for you as well. But yeah, I feel it's going to be a bit of an arm wrestle, obviously, from England all tournament.
Well, for Reed saying he likes Argentina on the board and England struggled to score tries. And I'm going to say, Steve, when I was listening to you talk, I'm thinking, has this guy read my preview I posted on Good for the Game earlier? Because you were actually, almost not word for word, but in terms of sentiment, you're exactly where I am at this game. I think Argentina are going to want it more. And another reason why I'm quite excited about this game, and I'm going to bring Alan in here, is this is a massive Super Brew pick. So we've got the big money pool, and I know, Alan, I don't know where you are in the pool, but I know you're also part of the pool where we all put 500 in. So there's not a lot of points between the guys on the top of the log, and this is a potential 3-pointer. Now, I'm seriously considering going Argentina in this one. Alan, what do you think? Can the Argentines put an upset here? Oops, looks like we've lost Alan there. Okay, well, we'll get him. We'll get him back on that one. Johan saying Argentina 1-12, and then guys, we'll just remind you, yes, if you want to enter that voucher for the 500, just make sure you use hashtag RWC in the live comments. So, Steve, I'm actually thinking of doing a separate little video on this game as well because, I'm quite excited about this one. And as the build-up's coming, I think we're going to see an Argentina win here, and for the reasons that we discussed. But yeah, points as well. I'm probably going to stay out of that. We'll see what happens. But let's start talking about the final, and then when Alan comes back at the end of the final, we'll be able to bring him in on that one. I just want to find the betting on the final now. We've got, of course, New Zealand narrow favourites here, Steve, over South Africa, -1.5. There's definitely, in my opinion, been a little bit of money for New Zealand over the last sort of week or so, but not enough to force them into massive favourites. I think it's just a case of South Africa looking tired. Very interesting, of course, South Africa have named the 7-1 bench again, and I see it's caused almost as much of a stir on Twitter as it did the first time they named it at Twickenham there. What do you make of this game? Obviously, as a New Zealander, and then potentially looking at it as a punter.
Well, it's the final we all dreamt of, right? It's right from the start. We all kind of sat here and thought this was going to be the cracker that we all want. I'm finding it interesting that the TAB here has actually got New Zealand a slightly bigger favourite. They're out at 2.5 on this side of the globe, which is interesting. I think it's maybe a little bit of that one-eyed patriotism going on in effect for the TAB there. But yeah, this is going to be close. Again, I don't think it's going to be a huge amount of points. I think weather's going to play a huge part in this weekend, which is a bit of a shame because it's been such a fun and exciting World Cup with attacking play and attacking rugby and tries being scored left, right and centre. It's on a bit of a dire note, which it may well be. So I think, again, for the same sort of reason, we'll be looking unders on points. And New Zealand here is looking at 4.5 on tries as well. So I just don't see there's going to be a huge amount in the way of try scoring. And much like the same, I'm going for a lot of penalties to be scored, a lot of points. The difference is going to be how the All Blacks contend with all those fresh forwards coming on in the second half and whether the All Blacks, I think if any out of these 4 teams that are playing this weekend are going to try it, even regardless of the weather, it's going to be the All Blacks. I think they're still going to try and throw the ball around. They're still going to try and stretch that defence. Hey, a slippery ball also means slippery hands to try and get tackles on as well, doesn't it? So, it's not quite the same for defending either. So it's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup with the weather sides of things as well. I've seen the halftime going around as well. Halftime here is absolutely giving you nothing. Half a point at the TAB for halftime in the favour of New Zealand, which is, Jesus, just nothing in it whatsoever. What I really find interesting, and I was looking through, the TAB have these awesome little, what do they call them? Exciting little bonus bet sort of things they've got going on here. 15-12 to be the final score to either team. An exact replica of the 95 World Cup final score, paying $41. If you like a little bit of history to repeat itself, 8-7 anyone in 2011 and 87. I mean, it's happened before. But yeah, kicks are going to be key. And just handling the ball and not giving away penalties, keeping 15 men on field, all those sort of cliches are going to come massively into it for this one, especially for the All Blacks thing if they want to hang on to this. The Springboks going to be very, very tough, though. They're going to come very hard at this. And honestly, I think the All Blacks are quietly confident about this one, given the way the tournament's gone so far as well.
Yeah, I can sort of pick that up in the All Blacks comments that they are fairly confident there. Poe Causa coming in, hashtag RWC, it's going to be a tough match, no doubt about that. And then Glenn just saying, great game for another drop goal. Now, last week we were watching with friends, obviously all of us in our South African jerseys, and I'd taken 7-2 anytime drop goal. So we're trailing by 6 points, and Farrell pulls out a magnificent drop goal out the bag. I mean, there was no other attempts in the game. And he lands at bets. I start running around the lounge, and needless to say, got a few strange looks there. But yes, this definitely could be one. I can tell you it's trading around 4-1, Glenn, for the drop goal. I just want to explain BetExchange's boost here quickly. I think Alan is back. We'll bring him in now. But BetExchange's boost, they'll give you even money -1.5 New Zealand or +1 South Africa, and overall under total points at 41.5. They've also got a URC special, by the way. But this World Cup one, it's a 5,000 limit, and you cannot use it in multiples. But it's a great deal. And I must say, I've been betting a lot with BetExchange in this World Cup because that even money is certainly good to take. Let's bring in Alan now. Let's hope we've got... I thought my Wi-Fi was bad, but it seems like his must have been troubling him as well. Al, are you with us? It looks a confused look on Alan's face there. I'm guessing he can't hear me. Al? I'll give him a sec there. Doesn't seem like he can hear me. I'm going to take him off, and then I'll ask him to try and come back in again. And Sevilla for the drop goal. I like that one. I like that one, Greg. I'm going to try get Alan in again, see if he's there. Al, can you hear us? That looks like he's disappeared again, having big problems with him. Hopefully we will get him back later, Steve. But anyway, what a World Cup it's been. An absolute marathon. It comes to an end now. New Zealand is going to be getting up for the game. South Africa's going to be staying up to watch the game. It's going to be cracking. And you know, at the end of the day, look, I think there were 4 teams at the end of the day that could have won this tournament, and 2 of them are left there now. And I'm actually happy. I know maybe as a New Zealander, I'm not sure you would agree with me, but I was actually happy South Africa won because I do feel if England had got into this final against New Zealand, you know, the betting would have been -13, -14.5. And even the third place playoff would have been a bit one-sided. So I'm kind of happy that we got almost a choice game here. What's your thoughts on that? England or South Africa in the final?
Without a doubt, South Africa. You know, we didn't want England to get anywhere near this final from this side of the globe either. I can tell you that much for free. It was the side of things, you know, what really got, I think, the New Zealand public especially really behind this World Cup was all the talk from the Northern Hemisphere, right? I guess you guys probably saw it as well. But
Woodward, yeah.
All that talk. Oh, there's going to be 4 Northern Hemisphere teams in the semi-finals. It's going to be all the North. And I think that gets under the skin of people more than anything else. And it's kind of like a big sucker punch right back at those Northern Hemisphere guys saying all that trash. You know, look at us now. You know, we got 3 teams in the semi-finals. I mean, Fiji could consider themselves lucky. We're dominating the final. I mean, you know, South Africa, you're my second pick. All Blacks number 1. Argentina, please do us a favour for 3rd as well. And we can take all those top spots. But yeah, Springboks for sure. I mean, they were always my second team to win it. If I was really going completely with my heart and what I want to see happen, yeah, All Black Springboks, they were my 1-2 for sure. Yeah, England could just, they don't get out of the pool. I'm happy with that too.
100%. We're going to give, I don't think Alan's camera is working now. So let's just see if he can hear us. Alan, can you hear us? And you are on mute, Al, if you can hear us. So it looks like we're having problems. Hopefully he can come back later in the show, but I'll take him out for now. And Steve, let's talk then a little bit about URC. Last week, I must say, I had an absolute blinder in the Super Brew in URC. I started a pot called Money Up Front. Not nearly as big a money pot as the World Cup, but I hit 8 out of 8. So I called the Benetton upset, and I also got and I also backed the Glasgow Warriors to beat Leinster in that final game. So carrying quite a bit of enthusiasm into this URC. But let's start with the opening game. We've got the Ospreys -13.5 against Zebre, and we've got a points line here of 57.5.
Geez, I'll tell you what I looked at last week's results, and I looked at what we talked about last week as well, and I found, man, some things we nailed, like absolutely nailed. Other things were off by an absolute country mile. But I looked at this week now, and there's a lot of movement on this game. Boy, oh boy, just from when I had a look at these odds earlier, probably 2 hours ago to now, they've almost changed by $1 to the side of Ospreys, dropping in a big way. They were $7.50 a couple of hours ago. Now they're just under $7. So moving a long way back to them. But I think that's quite a big difference, you know. They did as well as I kind of thought last week. I thought they would be in it for shot. They got with an 8, which I thought was quite good, you know, considering that they were such big underdogs to get anywhere near that match. So big comeback from them. They're down 27-5 at half-time, and they did really well, I think, to come back. So I think that's a bit long for Ospreys. I'd give them a little bit, maybe not a shot to win it, but certainly they're a lot better than I think the TAB here is giving them credit for. On the side of Zebra, they went shot for shot, didn't they, in their game? But such a big flip for the home ground advantage here is really, really exciting. But I still think that 750 is rough. I would even look, to go Zebra with the plus 15.5 that they've got at the TAB here, so a little bit more than you. I think you're going to stay in touch. I think they're good enough to be within 15 points, and that's quite a big margin to stay within. So if they can get on that side of things, they could be well and truly in for shot.
Excellent. I'm going to try to bring Alan in now. I tend to agree with you. I know there was Ospreys minus for Reed and the thing, but I'm a bit of a Zebra fan this season. I'm also looking to oppose Ospreys a bit, and I do think that I did laugh at the one game that we were both against. I think it was Connacht against Ospreys last week, where I was strong on Connacht and you said Ospreys on the plus, and the handicap was like 11.5, 12.5, and Connacht went out well in front. I remember I didn't bet on the game, in fact, because there was so much else going on, and I looked back and I thought, hey, I've really shown Steve who's boss here. I mean, look at this. And then I looked at the final score, and it was like 12 points on the nose. The Ospreys came back. But I do like Zebra here a little bit. I'm going to try and bring Alan in. He switched his camera off in the hope that his Wi-Fi will be a bit better. Alan, can you hear us, first of all? And we're not having much joy with Alan. He did say he could hear us in the studio. Alan, to give you another chance just to say something.
Can you hear me, Brent?
I'm not going to... Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. That's great news. I just want to say you're looking better than I've seen you look before as well. That's really, this new look suits you.
Yeah, sorry, a classic Murphy's Law here. Terrible connection.
Shame. Okay, well, look, let's try and we'll carry on. I'm going to come back to you at the end of the show for the Rugby World Cup picks, because we've just started on the URC. Quickly on the URC, first game, we got Ospreys plus 13.5 against Zebra. Any thoughts on that for you? Alan?
Yeah, I think...
Oh, sorry, carry on. I think we just got a delay.
I think these Italian teams could do something this URC, and as much...
I'm not hearing him, Steve.
No, gone for me.
I'm gonna pull him off. I'll send him a private message. We're gonna have to leave Al for this time because unfortunately the connection is just not good enough. Welcome to South Africa's Wi-Fi there. We got the next game. It's a big handicap here. The Stormers just holding on to win by 2 points against the Lions last week. They face a Scarlet side that took a 40-point drubbing at the Bulls in a hot Loftus. They now go down to Cape Town. Obviously different conditions, but the Stormers you'd have to fancy going to win comfortably. But this is a big handicap, Steve.
It is really, really big, but they did really get pumped, didn't they, in round one for the Bulls? I mean, I'm excited by that. I talked up the Bulls a big game that they're going to play some exciting rugby, and they actually did pull that one off for me, so I was quite happy. Back at home as well after a win on the road, so for the Stormers, so they must be pretty happy. So for me, it's not looking like it's going to be a good start here for the Scarlets to their competition. Two pretty big games, and they could go down. But betting-wise, I just think the Stormers are paying enough for me to really look at anything too seriously on this. They're playing very, very little in New Zealand, and the Scarlets are up to $15 to win this game, which is a huge, huge difference. So, yeah, nothing really tasty, but the Stormers should do this one, I would expect, in a bit of a canter.
Right, yeah, I would agree with you there. I am leaning towards the Stormers. I do think the Stormers have got a good side, and I think they just stepped off the gas last week a little bit against the Lions. I'm going to bring up the next game now. It features Connacht, and they're minus 2.5 against Glasgow, of course, beat Leinster last week. What are your views on this one, Steve? I'll tell you up front, I found this a bit of a tough game. I found this a tough one to call.
I thought this was a bit rough on poor old Glasgow, isn't it? You beat Leinster week one, and then you get thrown straight into being underdogs again for round two. No, see, I like Glasgow for this one. Give me Glasgow on the plus 2.5 that they've got here. They've won most of the games against Connacht in recent history. They're off to a good start. They're on the road, which is probably the only doubt that I'd really give to them. against this Connacht side, but I'm still backing the Scottish boys to get this one done. Especially since their start. They look really, really good against Leinster, so I was quite impressed by how they performed. I wasn't thinking they'd be that good. I thought Leinster would pick that one up. But yeah, impressive performance to stack up 43 points against the Leinster side. Showed that their attack really is on point.
Well, just going back a little bit, I see Johan saying overs points in the Stormers match and Monsieur Arteta coming with New Zealand halftime Box full-time. That's quite a popular choice. And then onto this game in the live chat for Reed, Glasgow on the board, going with you there. And Johan Esterhuizen also likes Glasgow. Chris, though, coming in and saying Connacht, but he agrees it's a tough match to call. It certainly does look a tough one. And could be a game, I think, points line 48.5. Could be an underscore for me here. Connacht at home, last week was a bit of an exception, but you generally get some pretty low-scoring games. I haven't looked at the weather, but there's a 98% chance that it's pretty poor over in that place. Right, we got Leinster, minus 17.5 against the Sharks. And points here, 53.5. Now, Leinster, can they bounce back? I've tried to look for a bit of team news. Didn't find a lot. I'm guessing the internationals are slowly going to start filtering back. Some of the guys who were in the squad might play, and then the starters will come later. So haven't had a good look. The Sharks, I think, very disappointing last week against Munster. They cost me a 22-1 newsletter accumulator there. That was poor. Now they're 17.5 underdogs against Leinster away.
Yeah, another big gap in this one too, which I thought was a little bit surprising. Leinster's playing next to nothing to win this game here. And I thought they were a side that probably looked like they've got a little bit to work on. But I thought the odds on this one, like you just said, especially with players coming back, returning, they are back at home as well, which would make a bit of a difference for them. But yeah, I couldn't find anything on who was coming back into the squad, who they've got close to returning or anything like that. So I've kind of weighed that into a little bit. Although if you're feeling really, really frisky for your weekend's picks, you could look at the Sharks maybe after the performance for what would be a bit of an upset. But 18.5 is what the TAB's got them for. So a little bit more than what you've got over there. But that, again, a big, big margin. And Leinster haven't looked incredible in that opening game. And again, if they don't get these key guys to come back, then you'd bank the Sharks are surely going to get within a decent sort of total closeness with them. But what I do feel, like you said at the start, the backlash, and that's something I've noted down, losing that opening game, dumping a lot of points on them as well, I think that we could fear for something of a little bit of retaliation. But I wouldn't mind going at the Sharks at plus 18.5 is what they've got here, or even 17.5 what you've got as well would both be much on my side.
Right, well, I must say I'm leaning towards you as well, but I think Johan Esterhuizen may have unlocked the puzzle for me here, saying should be points in the game. And this does strike me as a game that could have points in 53.5, not too high a quote, so that might be the way to go. Bitsy joining us and saying hit the like button. Great advice, that Bitsy. It certainly does help the channel a lot. And for Reed saying Leinster should make the cap, but it's high for mix and match teams. And that's a good point for Reed. Probably some good advice might be to go a little bit easy. Although, yeah, I did enjoy a very good opening weekend in the URC. Right, we go to another match, and I haven't written the other team in. I think it's the Lions. Edinburgh minus 10.5 against the Lions. Points 55.5. I'll correct that while you are talking on the game there, Steve.
Yeah, gee, this game was interesting, wasn't it? I found, looking back at the results, I was quite intrigued by this because Edinburgh were down 14 points to 0, and they come back to win it 22-17. So they didn't really fire until that last 20 minutes, inside the last 20 minutes, which, I think is a bit of an area of concern because I thought they would have been quite confident that they should have smashed the Dragons in the opening game quite comfortably. But now they're back at home. I think that'll settle them down a little bit. But then you look at their opponent, who was very similar to what Edinburgh did. The Lions were down 27-7. And they fought back hard.
Yeah, they were.
Ultimately didn't win, but come within 2 points. So to fight back a long way and just fall short, it shows that both these sides obviously favour a good, strong finish. But who's going to start the better in this one could prove to be quite a difference maker. I'm confidently safe in saying Edinburgh for this one at home. I just think their home difference is going to be quite good for them. And I'm intrigued to see who's leading this one at halftime. That's probably what the real gamble is going to be. And to me, 10.5 isn't really enough to really excite me too much. But points-wise, I'll probably go under on that too. A lot of points they've scored, but not consistently over the game. So who's going to cancel each other there out would be the interesting one. But opening half is what's going to really interest me.
Right, and just see a couple of comments coming in there, including Alan, who was, of course, on the show with us if you joined us at the start. Unfortunately, he had technical problems. So I'll just jump back. Alan saying Stormers should win by plenty. He was at Loftus last week. He thought the Scarlets were absolutely hopeless. And he also says Welsh team for the wooden spoon. I agree with you on that one. I think the Welsh teams are going to struggle perhaps more than the Italian teams. We've got Monica coming in, hashtag RWC, entering the competition. That draw will be done just before we do the best bets. And Johan Esthuizen saying second half, most points and lines should cover on that one. So, yeah, this is an interesting game. I'm also looking perhaps towards points, although at 55.5, it might be just getting a little bit high for me there. Alan, don't forget to put your World Cup picks on as well and your best bets. I'll bring that up at the end of the show when we talk about that. Right, let's go on to the next game, Benetton against Munster. Now, last week I was on Benetton as underdogs. They won the game, but I'm not going to lie, I'm quite surprised to see them so close to Munster in the betting, given Munster opened very strongly at home to the Sharks. And here we got Benetton only 4.5-point underdogs. So I'm sort of deliberating, do I stick with Benetton here? Because last week I thought they were value, but this week I'm not sure that they can beat a Munster side. What are your thoughts there, Steve?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I've got you consider me crazy if you like, but I don't see how this is even close. The TAB here's got even less. It's only going at 3.5, so it's got it even tighter. I found Benetton looked a bit leaky versus Cardiff. Both sides didn't look incredibly efficient, but boy, this Munster side, I think they looked at pretty much kind of what we expect from them. They were quite strong throughout the game. They were commanding positions through most of it. I think they looked really, really good. Again, factor is the travel. Okay, going away, playing Benetton on the road. So that's got to be probably something that may even out a little bit. But this Munster side looks really, really good to me. I think they'll blitz that 3.5. No worries whatsoever. I'd go for something bigger. Whatever your points tally is, yeah, go way over it. They'll smoke it.
Right, 47, 47 was a 4 so they'll probably be, what would they be, 4.5, 5, so call it 42, 21, and then, so they're probably going to be, you could probably go high on them at about 27, 28.5 points or something along those lines. My maths let me down there at just a bad moment. I see we're getting quite a few Facebook entries into the competition, hashtag RWC. That, of course, is through the Bet Exchange Facebook page. So, yes, just comment exactly like Mandla Korsi's done there in the comments, and you will be entered into the draw at the end of the show. Just a reminder, obviously watch the draw to see if you won, and then if you do win, you'll have to email me, brent@goodforthegame.co.za. Right, Alan Schultz reckons, this is just going back to his World Cup, he says England to win, sadly, Argentina just haven't played apart from one half against Wales. Yeah, I can't really argue with you there, Alan, but we'll discuss that at the end as well. Right, we move on, 2 more games to go in the URC. This is also on Sunday. We've got the Dragons, plus 2.5 against Cardiff. And if there's one game that I'm probably not going to watch this weekend, it's the Dragons against Cardiff. Steve.
Crazy, isn't it? You got 2.5. Here, they're just 0.5. Dragons are 0.5 favourites. It's amazing the differences between the agencies between here and there, which I find really, really intriguing. I don't think here they actually follow it too closely, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, this is my a deserved type angle for what I think are going to be the strugglers of this competition, much like you said at the start there. Both sides, I think they might want to make sure they get enough sleep in the build-up to the game. I think it's going to be important because they both absolutely completely lost it out when they had big first-half leads. Cardiff was up 19 points at 3. They lost the game, only adding 3 more points throughout that second half. I mean, this is going to be as good as a chance as any for the Dragons to open their account. I mean, home advantage, I've gone back to that a lot. I think it's going to be a big factor throughout this competition. And I think this is the chance for them to do it. I don't think they're going to get too many more chances above that. But yeah, I expect this one to probably be a little bit scrappy, a little bit messy, a little bit, pulling out whatever hair you've got left and being disappointed ultimately if your team can't get over the line. If you're an unfortunate supporter of one of these two sides. But yeah, I'll lead the Dragons by a whisker just for home advantage.
Well, Alan Schultz saying at least the Welsh side is going to win this weekend. Yeah, I'm sure that you're endearing yourself to the Welsh there. Alan, flip a coin, says Johan, and Cardiff should come away with a solid win. So varying opinions there. It looks like a bit of a dangerous game to me. Yes. Then on to what I consider one of the games of the weekend. We've got Ulster at home to the Bulls. The Bulls, big victors last week. Ulster being pushed quite hard against Zebra. A high-scoring game, 76 points in that one. We've got Ulster at home now, Steve, minus 6.5 against this Bulls side and a points line of 52.5. Now, the Bulls, if they want to show that they can be proper contenders, they got to also learn to do the business on the road. What are we going to get here?
Yeah, well, I looked at this one and I thought to myself, I know it was only Scarlets, but then I looked at the odds and I thought, but still, you put the Bulls at $2.90 outsiders for this game, and Ulster didn't look fantastic in their win over Zebra at the start of the first round. I mean, one team sit here, Ulster's going, whew, how do we escape that? That was a lucky game to get away with. The Bulls are like, man, we're cooking. Like, we're great. We're scoring tries. We're having fun. We're on a road trip. Party time. They're loving life, right? They're piled on points. They should be confident as ever. Again, home advantage, I think, will give something back to Ulster, but that's a huge swing from a team that's probably looked one of the most, if not the most impressive side in the opening round against a side that probably struggled more than we thought they would in their opening matchup against a team that we thought they should probably beat quite comfortably. I like this Bulls side. I would take the +6.5 if you're really hesitant, but boy, I think they'll do it just outright comfortably enough. I like this Bulls team. I think they get through the travel and they should do it quite comfortably. But yeah, Bulls for me on this one.
Yeah, Bulls on the board for Johan as well. And Chris reckons Anders point for Reed just saying, sorry for the repeat messages. I thought he was just trying to really make a strong point, but he was saying he thought these messages hadn't gone through there. Right, guys, it's basically the end of the show. We're going to catch up maybe with a couple more thoughts on the World Cup. So just a reminder, if you've just tuned in, you can enter the competition, #RWC in the live chat. We're going to do that draw in about 30 seconds time there. I guess we'll talk about best bets. And because I thought we were coming back to the Argentina game when Alan dropped off, I didn't really give my thoughts on that. I did the preview this morning, and yeah, I mean, I did say I echoed your thoughts. I've gone 28-10 Argentina to win the game on the board. What do you think of that? I mean, here's my view. I think Argentina, they're going to rock up and win this game, or they're not going to rock up and they're going to get plastered by England. That's my view on this one. Do you have a similar view on that?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be exactly like you say. They have the capabilities. I've seen a lot of comments saying, team-wise, on paper, Argentina should blitz this English side, which I agree 100% on paper. They should do the job, but we've seen this English team. I mean, last weekend, Springboks should have smoked them. Like, they shouldn't have even been close. It should have been a similar scoreline both semi-finals. But boy, that England team just know how to suck the life out of a game. No disrespect to how they play, but they just draw the teams in that they play against into their game, slow it down, and they know what their strengths are, and they play it really, really well. So I agree with you 100%. Argentina, if they need a chance, they need to come out hard and strong. They need to put points on the board very early and then try and pressure England into playing something they don't want to play. Make them go, we've got to score fives because we're down by 20 points, that sort of thing. If they can't do that, I think, again, it'll be much like that pool opener and pool D. They'll just get dragged in. And make sure you don't drop the ball, Argentina, because you were terrible in that opening game. I mean, a red card for Curry, and you still didn't come away with more than that one try at the end. You got to be better. Ability's there. Yeah. Application has to be there. And that's, I hope they have it.
Excellent. Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that one, guys. Couple of good comments coming in there from Bitsy, Alan, and Johan, including his treble. We're going to bring that up in the best bet section. It's time now to get onto the draw and see who wins the draw. We've got a lot of entries this week. It's 28. We've got quite a few coming in from the Bet Exchange Facebook page there. Let's see who wins the 500 voucher. And just a reminder, if you see your name come up here, email me, brent@goodforthegame.co.za, and to claim your prize. I'll put that up on the screen now as well. Right, let's do the draw. Racing, you should see your name pop through there at some stage. Farid Manuel, well done, Farid. You are the winner of the 500 Rand Bet Exchange voucher. I know Farid does have my email address, so pop it through there, and you won that 500 Rand voucher. Very well played to you. I must say, it's quite a nice little tool to say, Steve, at the end to do the lucky draws in. You see your name, you get hopeful, and then it's gone. Right, I think my sound just went for a second there, but that brings us to the best bet section of the show, Steve. So yeah, what are your views and maybe a World Cup most solid play, and then also a URC?
Gee, World Cup, there's a few you could go off the World Cup, but, I kind of like the sentimental side of things, and I've looked for that with this game. And what I like, and I couldn't find it, but I challenge you to find something like this. The last try of the England v Argentina game to be scored by Augustine Clevey and Argentina to win the game by, say, 1-12 or 1-6 or 1-9 or something like that. I think that would just complete what has been a fantastic World Cup full of feel-good moments, full of amazing fixtures and games and stuff like that. If you want to go something a little bit more serious and you go into the grand final game, of course, there's a couple of options here I quite liked. Both teams, and it's feeding off what you said earlier as well, both teams to kick a drop goal is paying $8 here in New Zealand for that to happen. But what I think, again, something I couldn't really find, but this is a game where I think the TAB here has a stack. I mean a stack. It took me about 10 minutes to read it, of betting options for tries. I don't think this is a game where betting options for tries is a really, really smart idea. I think this is a game where you want to look at players like Pollard and Mwanga to score points, whether it be 10 or 15 points each over the game, and whatever team you want to win. So don't go for that sort of bet is what I'll be looking for. I couldn't find anything too extreme. Best I could find was total successful penalties inside the first half being over 1.5, paying $4. I thought that was a tasty enough bet that I'll be jumping on for sure. In the URC, I like Glasgow. Oh, Glasgow's my bet. Get something on Glasgow. I think they're going to be the ones to jump on for definite. And the Bulls as well, if you want to go something really, really tasty. I think we're going to see more points from our Bulls. I'm already getting favourite teams already.
And you started to really endear yourself to your South African fan base here. Going for the Bulls and all that. It's great to see, Steve. And I know your pick of Glasgow, a very popular one amongst the guys in the live chat there as well. Let me just bring up a couple of comments to end the show, a few that popped in earlier. Alan, who, of course, as I said, had the technical problems, boxed to win and will lead at halftime and full time. So that's the way Alan sees it going. I must say, personally, I was very flat at the beginning of the week. I almost had the feeling like, no, the All Blacks can win. But as the week has gone on, and yes, I like the 7-1 call. And as the week has gone, I've got a little bit more confident about the box. Bitsy always shares a couple of NBA or American sports picks, UFC and all the rest. I know there's no UFC this weekend. I'm not going to even try and read that one, but I'll leave it up there for a couple of seconds for the guys to have a look. And then Alan also had some comments in the Bulls game. Bulls solid pack now that they have Wilco and TH. TH is that the the Bulls team has escaped me there for a second. Ulster lucky to beat Zebre, but Bulls are woeful away from home, homesickness, etc. Rain all weekend in Belfast too, but good time to play Ulster away. So I'm reading Alan's comment there, and Al, I must admit, I've got absolutely no idea what you're suggesting on that game because you've given pros and cons for both. So I think maybe the good advice is not to rush into that game too aggressively. Anyway, everyone, that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks to everyone who entered the draw and commented in the live chat. And Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you during this World Cup, and I'm sure we'll chat a lot more over the coming months on other rugby tournaments because that's the beauty of rugby. It never stops these days, does it?
It's all go, isn't it? One starts before the next one or the last one finishes. So it's great. No, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me over these weeks. It's been fun. I've enjoyed looking at things from a different perspective and diving into a bit of URC, which doesn't get enough publicity over there, as you can tell by the difference in our betting agencies, definitely. But yeah, it's been great fun. I've enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. And I just want to thank BetExchange for sponsoring us over the course of the World Cup. Really great. First of all, your price boosts are superb with that 5,000 Rand match. Looking forward to having a look at your URC one with the 3,000 match. And then just generally speaking, your support of the show, and that is much appreciated. Let's give the final word to Alan Schultz. He's now confirming what he was talking about in that, and he's saying Bulls to sneak it. Steve, thanks very much. We'll see you again soon. Handicap more than likely back to its regular time of 9 o'clock next Thursday.